You are now entering Night Storm Nation.
All I have to say is this.
Child abuse.
If you are one of those people
Divorce.
that have been put down all of your life,
Infidelity.
beat up and trapped in a pit of woe,
Depression.
it is time for you to stand up with the Night Storm Nation, because we aren't going anywhere. I'm YG Nightstorm, the man not afraid to be transparent, as I help real people with real issues. And my co-host is my queen, my stunningly gorgeous wife.
This is Toby George, Night Storm. Good morning, good morning, good morning, ATL and everyone else around the world. I'm the woman not afraid to tell the truth about how things really are. And this is Night Storm Radio. Radio gone real because we are you.
So for all the Night Storm Nation members in the ATL, you can call in at 44355-8699. And to the Night Storm Nation members around the country, feel free to call at 1-866-923-2860. And you can find out more about us, the Night Storms, at nightstorm.com. That's NYGHTSTORM.com. And you can also listen to our show from the Talk Radio page on the website, as well as love860.com.
That is right. And all you smartphone owners out there, you know, these iPhones and these Androids and everything that can download apps, you need to be downloading iHeartRadio or Tunein Radio or iRadionow, so you can tune in anywhere in the world and listen to the Night Storms at any time.
That's the Night Storms. Now, anyway, so what's on tap for today, sweetheart?
Well, today we're going to be talking about the attacks on the spirituality of today's youth and the things that they are dealing with. And also, even though Old Man Winter don't want to let go of the apron string.
He sure don't, man. He is tripping.
It says on the calendar,
March.
It's springtime.
Right.
But he didn't get the memo.
He is tripping. He being an old grumpy dude that just don't know when to leave.
At any rate, with it being springtime, you know, we have a guest that's going to come and talk to us about something that we take for granted, and that's the importance of honeybees.
Honeybees?
Yeah, see, look at you. Now you're looking like honeybees.
Now, I don't take honeybees for granted.
Yes, you do.
No, I don't.
Until you like, you got some honey in the can, now I want to put some on my chicken.
And? I ain't going to go there.
Exactly.
I like honey.
Exactly.
I like honey on
But you
many
couldn't
things.
have honey on your chicken or biscuits or anything else.
All I
got
to say is I appreciate honeybees for what they provide, because I like honey.
Exactly.
Because I love you, honey.
Oh, here we go.
I know, that's so cheesy. Anyway,
I know, right?
So it sounds like we're going to have a great show, Night Storm Nation, and there's going to be plenty of good and honey sweetness on here. Ain't that right, baby?
That's right. You know, we have to take care of our people out here at Night Storm Nation. They are taking care of us and supporting Night Storm Radio. So let's get started.
Okay.
Now, as always, we like to get the ball rolling around here with a letter from our wonderful Night Storm Nation listeners, the people that tune in faithfully each and every Thursday, or as close to faithfully as they can get, because it is 11 o'clock. I'm sure if you are hiding in the bathroom right now trying to make sure they hear what we got to say.
You're hiding from their boss at work.
I know, right? In the closet like R. Kelly. It's all right,
no.
though.
In the closet?
You know?
I'm trapped in the closet.
But let's get into this
Or
email.
here in the club.
Oh,
Every
no.
other song. But anyway, keep going with the Night Storm letter.
No, I think he's moved out of that. Anyway, dear Night Storms, I'm writing you about my concern for our youth today. I'm a parent, as I know the two of you are also. And as a parent, I want to keep my children entertained and educated. But it seems every time I turn on the radio or the television, there's a constant bombardment of topics that I feel are not appropriate for my children or even myself. I don't want to keep my children in a box, but I want to protect them. What do you suggest as steps that I can take as a parent that will allow my children to participate in things of the world, but not be exposed to the things that I feel are detrimental?
Well, you know, son, we having 7 kids, we went through that as well. And even though our youngest is 13, and, you know, even from the oldest to the youngest, you know, we were concerned about our kids being exposed to stuff.
Because cartoons are even changing. You know, nowadays, it wasn't so much when our older children who are in their early 20s now were kids. But now with our 13-year-old, you put on Cartoon Network, and
It's
some
a-
of the cartoons are saying
it's a
stuff
little
that you're
racy.
like, what?
Yeah, but the thing, I think what we had to do, what we knew we had to do, we had to be the example
Right.
for our children.
And we couldn't just turn on the TV and walk away, because apparently you can't do that anymore.
No, you can't let the TV babysit your child no more, 'cause you don't know what your child going to be doing.
You think there's, it's nice little, it's an animated show. It's on Cartoon Network. It's got to be safe, right?
Right.
And the way our house is set up, the kitchen is looking into the family room. So you're washing a dish or putting something on the stove, and over your shoulder you hear something that you're like, wait a minute.
I know this ain't no cartoon.
Lord, what?
I know this ain't on Disney Channel.
It's time for Teletubbies.
Well, to our Night Storm Nation member who wrote into this, who wrote into us, yes, we have gone through this, and like I said, because quickly, we had to be the example. It's one thing, because you can't monitor everything your child does at school because they're not with you 24/7. It ain't like you got them on your hip and you can just take them and say, no, you don't need to look at this, and no, you don't need to do that.
Especially when they get older and be like teenagers.
Especially then, because then they friends and everybody's doing it. So you got to be the example and say, look here, I understand what you see. I understand what's going on around you, but there are consequences to everything in this world and your actions. And if you choose to do the things that you see these folks doing on TV, then there are going to be some consequences to it. And everything that you see on television is not meant for you to do. Because
And
these
on the
folks,
radio.
And on the radio, because these folks are actors. This stuff is fictional. But even with the stuff that is not fictional, you can't do everything. But if you as the parent are not being a good example for your children, what else do they have to bounce that crap off of?
Well, and it's also the traditional thing of the parental controls. All cable companies usually let you parent your TV channels.
They got an app on iPhone that can cancel all that stuff.
Really?
Yes. I'm sorry, baby.
Really?
Yes, it does.
Well, I guess that's why our kids don't have an iPhone.
Exactly.
Look, aside from the fact that it's freaking $600 and ain't getting no teenager no $600 phone unless they paying the bills.
Yeah, but we done broke down some of our expert advice. But, it's always good that we have other experts to come on and talk as well. Am I right, baby?
Exactly.
So, Jared, if you can cue that music for our other expert so I can introduce her properly, sir. Yeah. Now, Night Storm Nation, we play 5-Star Chick because this young lady is a 5-star chick. Our first guest is a doctor of medicine and a doctor of ministry with a master's in public health and a master's in theological studies. Currently residing in Clarksville, Tennessee, her focus is the disenfranchisement of youth spiritually in America. She has published, get this, 20 volumes of poetry, including the poetry book, You Don't Live on My Street, and a professional use video entitled, It Ain't Getting Any Better, where she accurately articulates the brutal cycle and the cries for help from some of our nation's youngest victims. So, ladies and gentlemen of Night Storm Nation, it is my honor, privilege, and pleasure to introduce to you the one, the only, incredible Dr. Rebera Foston. Yeah!
Good morning.
Good morning, Dr. Foston. How are you?
I'm fine, and the both of you?
We are doing well. Thank you so very much for asking, and thank you so much for being on the show.
Well, thank you for having me.
Not a problem at all. It was our honor and pleasure. Now, Dr. Foston, we were just on your website, and soon as you click onto your website, you get this powerful introduction, this voiceover showing these pictures, talking about you and the things that you are doing with our adolescents. Could you please explain to Night Storm Nation, what is the addiction to hopelessness?
I'd love to. First of all, I'd just like to point out that the love that the two of you share for each other can be felt over the phone. I love that. So thank you. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, doctor. Oh.
Here we go.
The addiction to hopelessness. A teenager needs 12 things to accomplish before they can get to adulthood. And you have addiction to hopelessness when one or more of those identities haven't been formed. So it's up to us as a community to make sure they get all 12 things that they need to get to adulthood.
All
And
right.
it's an addiction because you have to treat it like that. It has so many different root causes. You have to throw everything you can at it, and it's beyond their control.
Yes, ma'am. And doctor, I want to say this because when I saw the video, and I encourage all Nightstorm Nation members to really check this video out, but it touched me because, ma'am, I was a child who grew up in an abusive household where my father abandoned us and my mom was very abusive toward me because I looked like my dad, who was abusive towards her. So I grew up in a condition of hopelessness, and it was so entrenched deeply in me where it did become an addiction, and it followed me into my adulthood, and it started affecting different aspects of my life because of the hopelessness that I carried. So when you talk about this stuff, I understand because I'm coming from a real place, but could you also, ma'am, with your expertise, let the Nightstorm Nation members know what are some symptoms that we should be looking for in our children that may be addicted to hopelessness?
Well, that's interesting because it presents itself in so many different ways, but we just don't call it an addiction to hopelessness. For instance, if you have poor school performance, truancy, aggressive behavior, all of these things are looked at individually, but they're really all symptoms of the same problem, which is that addiction to hopelessness.
Now
we see it all around us, yeah.
And you said earlier that a child needs 12 things. I need you, please, to take the time to elaborate on those 12 things, because I'm sure Nightstorm Nations, it's like, okay, what are the 12?
There are 4 biological identities that they have to have. There are 4 theological identities, and there are 4 sociological identities. And just very briefly, under psychological, you have to have a good biological identity, meaning you have to like yourself, your shape, the way things you can't change, like your hair color, hair length. Your nutritional identity is important. Your sexual identity is key. And then psychologically, you have to know who you are, where you came from, and feel good about that. Sociologically, you have to have, there's a learning identity. Every kid has to know how they learn, how they best can handle material, and make sure they're taught in that way. And our school systems aren't really good at that right now. They have to have a developmental identity, meaning they have to get through all the phases of adolescence. They have to have a loss identity where you have to understand how your child reacts to a loss and to know what a loss is. Because a lot of times kids are reacting to losses that at our age we wouldn't consider a loss, but to them it's devastating. Theologically, they have to have a personal ethical identity, and they have to have a social ethical identity. Ethics meaning being able to do right when nobody's looking. We have a society where if nobody's looking, you think you can get away with it, you'll do most anything. Well, that's not ethics. Ethics means when nobody's watching, what do you do then? And they have to have a belief in themselves, but they can only get that from the adults in their lives. And they have to have a belief in a higher power. We don't have to put a name on it, but it has to be a power bigger than themselves, because if they believe that the world starts and stops with them, they can get depressed very quickly when things don't go their way.
Yes, ma'am. And I think we are definitely on the same page. And I want to ask you this, because there are so many of us, and I say us, including myself, and Toby came up in a very harsh conditions as well. There are so many of us adults who may still be trapped in this addiction to hopelessness that stems back from our childhood. And now these adults are parents. And is it possible? Because I honestly believe that it is, but I want to get your expertise on this. But is it possible to you that a parent who has grown up with a case of being addicted to hopelessness, can they pass this on to the child and make them also addicted to hopelessness, ma'am?
Absolutely, and that's where our addiction to hopelessness stems from. Our children get it from the adults in their lives. So holistic mentoring is the treatment that I've come up with over these 40 years on how to deal with that. But the addiction to hopelessness demands that the person has to be more whole than the child they're trying to help. Imagine with our traditional mentoring systems, nobody looks to say, is this mentor whole enough to do this? What have they been through? What have they dealt with? What have they come through? But they just throw them in with the kid. And if you put a broken adult with a broken child, that's spontaneous combustion. That's the worst combination ever. So holistic mentoring means the adult has to be whole, not completely whole. We don't have time to wait for complete wholeness, but at least on their way, on their journey toward wholeness, and then they can help another child guide them to that same end.
Now, it's interesting because you've gotten into my next question of why holistic mentoring differs from traditional mentoring, but I want to know, why are young people so susceptible to this, tongue-tied, to this addiction? And, going back to the question, what's the difference when taking them to, any YMCA or Big Brothers, Big Sisters or any other mentoring program as opposed to holistic mentoring?
Well, a lot of different reasons. First of all, I told you the traditional mentoring programs don't require the mentor to have enough wholeness. But secondly, it's all left up to the mentor's whim of what we're going to do today. It's really loose and unstructured. We even have commercials that say anybody can be a mentor, like it requires no training. Well, holistic mentoring is just the opposite. It's very focused. It's very therapeutic. Requires tons of training. And you have a specific endpoint you're trying to get to in getting that child to wholeness. So when they come in for our mentoring session, you'll say, well, look, I see where you don't have your sexual identity developed. We need to get you someone in the community that can help you do that. And so the holistic mentor marshals all of the resources of the community together to help that child get over that next identity hurdle. And one-on-one and traditional mentoring is done one-on-one, but the community has to do holistic mentoring. Of these 12 things they need, no one agency, no one person could possibly get them through all of that. So we have to create that village again that can love, raise, and holistically mentor a child to get them to wholeness.
Yes, ma'am. And I love the way you broke that down. You said spontaneous combustion. And I think that is an accurate depiction of the things that happen, because when you put a broken adult and you say, well, I need you to help this child, but they themselves are not helped, then it's going to create an impossible situation and create a path of failure for the child, because the adult still needs help in certain areas. And I agree, none of us are perfect and none of us are completely whole. We all have things that we are dealing with. But in order for us to effectively help these children who are addicted to something, it doesn't help to have an adult who's addicted to the same thing in the same room trying to help somebody get over an addiction that they still got. So it's like, if I'm addicted to chocolate, and if somebody say, YG Nightstorm, I'm addicted to chocolate, can you help me? I'm going to say, no, I can't help you because I'm going to eat all the chocolate before you get to it.
That's right. And there's something else I want to point out called the reduction theory. It just happens in life where a person, just for no fault of their own, has to make themselves feel good by making someone else around them feel worse. And when you have an adult who's broken and they have a broken child, they have to make that child feel worse. That's just what's going to happen.
Okay.
So it's inevitable that that child will be destroyed in that relationship.
Okay, and we're going to get a little bit further and deeper into this because this is a fascinating conversation. What do you think, my queen?
It is. I'm all ears, like I know NYGHTSTORM Nation is, but we are about to go into this break here.
Yeah, we're about to go into a break. And, Doc, you hold on. Because we're going to get deeper on trying to help some folks dealing with addictions, and broken adults going to get healed. Kids who need help can get healed, all because your eloquent self is here. So NYGHTSTORM Nation will be back on the other side of the break. You are listening to NYGHTSTORM Radio on Love 860 AM, Atlanta's inspirational talk radio station.
You ever been so depressed to where you want to hurt yourself because life has been unkind, unfair, and unforgivable? Folks done hurt you and thrown you away. Yeah, I know, because I was there too, until I read this book by YG Nightstorm called All Action No Talk. This dude has been there, man. He understands us. He was homeless, abused as a child, abandoned by his dad, and even his oldest son passed away. I'm encouraged because if this dude can make it, so can I, and so can you. So check it out at nightstorm.com, NYGHTSTORM, and know that you have the strength to change your life despite adversity, like him. Like me, like you.
Hey, you, guy or gal that's listening, are you enjoying the night storms? Good. If you want the 411 on me, YG Night Storm,
and me, Toby George Night Storm, a.k.a. Lady Night Storm, visit nightstorm.com. That's NYGHTSTORM.com. Check out our informative blogs, videos, and see what Night Storm Nation is doing to benefit the community. You can also follow us on Twitter and Facebook.
Thanks again for listening to the Night Storms on Night Storm Radio every Thursday at 11 a.m. to noon on Love 860 a.m. Atlanta's inspirational station. We are you.
Hi everyone, it's me, Lady Night Storm, and have I got news for you. Want to know how to keep up with us and what we're doing in the community? It's easy. Just like us on Facebook at Night Storm Radio. Follow us on Twitter at Night Storm Radio and become part of the Night Storm Nation mailing list at nightstorm.com. That's NYGHTSTORM. Keep up with all our promotions, contests, and latest happenings. Night Storm Radio. We are you.
You are now rocking with the Night Storms on Atlanta's inspirational station, Love 860 AM WAEC. Now back to the show.
Welcome back to Night Storm Radio. If you would like to call in and be a part of this fascinating conversation with Dr. Foston and ourselves, please call 443-555-8699 or 866-923-2860. Anywhere in the world, we're right here with you. Now, Dr. Foston, we were talking about our young people, and I asked the question, why are young people so susceptible to this addiction? Why, as opposed to anybody else, is the adolescent years the years where they're most falling victim to this?
Well, it's because of where they are developmentally. Most young people have to develop all of this in the shortest period of time developmentally that there is. Between the ages now from about 7 until about 18, they have to accomplish the task the rest of us have years and years and years to do. And they have to do it pretty much on their own because nobody understands their level of development as well. We're taught about a lot of things, but not how people develop. So if this is a time when all of their bodies are changing, their minds are changing, the way they look at life is changing, everything is changing, so that makes them more vulnerable to this phenomenon.
Well, you know something. Like I said, ma'am, I am enjoying this conversation, and I want to tell you something. And I know you probably don't hear this enough, but ma'am, you are a hero. And the Queen and I appreciate this deep, impactful work that you do. And I invite everyone that is listening right now to really get in touch and listen to what Dr. Foston is saying. And in order for these folks, ma'am, to get in touch with you, where can they reach you at? What's your website, and how can folk get in contact with you and listen to this powerful message that you got that's going to help all these young folks?
Okay, well, my website is www.fostoninstitute.com, and they can go there and see all the books that I have, the videos. What I like about the video is I was out in Portland, Oregon, talking to a group of young people. I only did 2 poems and had to minister to them for 4 hours after that from the reaction I got from just those 2 poems with the young people. Now, that was powerful to me because this was a group of kids that the adults said, now, these are our good kids. I don't know what that means. But if I found that much pain in the good kids, Lord have mercy. What are we doing? So, yes, I would like people to come and look, and I'd like the work to be used by someone who's professional, because you don't know what kind of reaction you're going to get from the young people. So in our churches, you need to have a minister there. In our schools, you need to have a counselor there, because when they start unleashing this pain, somebody's got to be there to help them.
Exactly.
Even with my movie, You Don't Live on My Street, a 2-hour movie, I have people who run out of the theater overcome with what they've just seen. So I won't show it unless I have a trained staff of people in the theater with me.
And
because it's that powerful.
And I just want to make sure that Night Storm Nation and everybody listening understands that Foston Institute is FOSTONINSTITUTE.com. So you can find out more. You can get a preview of Dr. Foston's movie. Now, one last question. What can the community do to help treat this addiction, Dr. Foston?
Well, they need to become trained as holistic mentors because, like I said, it takes the entire village. And of those 12 things that I listed for you earlier, maybe the YWCA can only handle 3. But maybe there's a church in the community that can do 3 more. Maybe there's a school that can do 2. And when you put the entire community together, then you have all 12.
Well, there you go.
Well,
whoop, there it is.
Just that simple, huh?
So when they go through the training, they understand what their role has to be. It doesn't mean it takes the village. You're the village. This is what I need you to do.
And they can find out more information on how to become holistic mentors on your website.
Yes.
Yes, they can.
All right.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much for joining us here on Night Storm Radio. And please, Dr. Foston, feel free at any time to come back.
Yes. Thank you,
Well,
ma'am.
thank you. I would love to. Thank you both.
All right.
You all stay sweet, okay?
All right.
We working on it.
Bye-bye.
Have a good day.
All right. All right, Night Storm Nation, we're going to keep things moving and get into our next topic. Now, YG, as I said earlier at the top of the show, even though for the last few days it felt cold, what was that, day before yesterday, the wind was blowing like 40 miles an hour, about to blow you down the street.
Yeah, man, it even messed the dogs up. They were so upset. They were like, what in the world? It's supposed to be springtime, Daddy.
You
Roof?
know?
Why? Roof? Why is this going on? Roof?
Well, I know they didn't mess around out there. They wouldn't do what they had to do.
And got on right back in the house.
Yeah, exactly. Wasn't no messing around. But the temperature's trying to warm up.
It's trying.
And I know we were out in the driveway the other day, and you were trying to keep this bee from getting into the driveway and getting to the house. So apparently the signals are going off that it's springtime.
Yeah, Mother Nature knows it's springtime, but, old man winter is still tripping, and he don't know when to leave.
You know?
He that guest that just won't leave the house. And he's so old, and he done took care of you when you were young, you can't really say nothing to him.
Look.
Bye-bye, Daddy.
Look.
Love you, but you got to go,
now,
Daddy.
the thing I'm trying to get to about the bees.
Yes, ma'am.
Is,
honey.
Most people just think of bees as annoying insects that sting you, that's in the way of your picnic, and, being nosy, follow you around, you swatting at them.
You put on some nice cologne and they just won't leave you alone.
Look, exactly. But, all God's creatures, great and small, serve a purpose.
Yes, they do.
And we're going to talk to our next guest about the importance of honeybees. So, Jared, if you can cue that music up for us.
Yeah. Oh,
I know, right? You just like it, don't you?
Night Storm Nation. If you don't know, you better ask somebody. You go, my queen.
Our next guest is a writer who hails from the University of Hawaii at Mino and has a love for fashion, style, and music. Her articles can be seen on theexaminer.com and Host Post Style. And her blogs feature short stories about mermaids, plays, bees, goat herding, and more.
Come on.
She's a fifth-generation Portlander who is here to talk to us today about honeybee gardens just in time for spring.
Yeah.
So, ladies and gentlemen of Night Storm Nation, please help me welcome the one, the only, Miss Katherine Garvin.
Yeah.
Good morning.
Good morning. Are you hyped? Can you feel the love?
Yes. Oh, my goodness. I'm waking up to this amazing lucky day. Thank you so much.
Well, Katherine, everybody that's like you that come on our radio show is special. And you guys do so much. And you deserve, ma'am, to be introduced like that everywhere you go. You need to have your own theme music when you walk down the street.
I know, right?
That just feels fantastic. Oh, my goodness. Thank you so much.
Okay.
With all my heart, thank you.
Well, you're welcome. Now, let's get into this because me and my sweetie pie, my honey, been talking about honey. But I want to ask you this, ma'am. What's most important right now about the topic of honeybees? Can you break that down for us?
Well, thank you so much for asking me that question. What I feel today is most important, and what I learned and listened to from the bees is that really all we have is right now. And it's a beautiful time to step into creating what I call the 3 values of beauty, balance, and bliss. And so I wrote this book, Hope for the Honeybee, because after doing intensive research and being a beekeeper and literally just taking off the scaffolding of my mindset of how my culture had taught me about bees and started fresh, I learned something wonderful from them, and I understood that it was important to talk about living every day, not worrying about fear, worry, and doubt. Does that make sense? So the important thing is that life is happening. It feels good, when you are taking care of yourself every single day, just like the bees are trying to do, although they're at risk, and do something wonderful for myself and the world. And so I wrote this book called Hope for the Honeybee.
Now,
and it begins with a garden.
Okay. And why is this so important, Miss Katherine?
Yeah.
Well, for me, I appreciate that question, and I'll tell you why. Why is this so important? Life can really throw you a whole lot of interesting obstacles and challenges. And one can wake up every day just trying to put out, all of these fires and figure out what the whole big scheme is. And you can miss out on today. I know that sounds kind of simplistic, but what I'm saying is there's an experience when one shifts their mindset to, look, I have today right now.
Right.
And I can actually impact my life and be empowered right this minute. And so I understood the bees when I saw them at risk. They do not live in fear, worry, and doubt. They wake up today. Today they're going to try and find, and live their life, their full life cycle. And so I kind of use them as a model for how I can shift my physical, mental, emotional, and sacred self into respecting my day and giving dignity to my day and having a lot more fun and creating a lot of beauty in my life.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes, ma'am. And that's
what they're doing.
And I want to say this because when the Queen approached me with this and she said, we got a bee expert coming on the show. And I'm like, why we need a bee expert on the show? And then the Queen started enlightening me to something. And she said, sweetheart, I want you to think of something. I want you to think of when it's cold outside and everything has pretty much died throughout the season. And then spring comes and then the bees start coming back out. And the bees are coming out when it's sunny and it's a little bit warm. And this kind of represents what life is for us. When we wake up in the morning, we don't know what to expect, but we're going to fly around and we're going to try to take care of all of our necessities throughout the day. But when you also break it down, as you're flying around, there's so many things that could possibly happen to you, from big dudes like yourself, humans, who might see them as a threat and swat at them and kill them, or other predators that might go after them, and they simply just try to live. And then the ultimate thing is they may have to defend themselves by stinging someone. And once they sting someone, their life ends. That's why they are so fervent on trying to live life for right now. And when the Queen broke that down to me, it all made sense.
I can't believe you remembered all that.
So, ma'am, did the Queen give an accurate assessment on why we should appreciate honeybees as according to living life for the moment and not holding on to the past and not really worrying too much about the future?
I just think what you just said was beautiful. And yes, I completely agree. And that's a doorway into a new world. And so that whole framing that you just said I feel with all my heart and soul and mind, body, and spirit and emotions, yes, because that frame is a door that you can unlock and walk into a new world. And so my book is really about creating that space in the physical that also heals your emotional, mental, and sacred self. The bees are, if I could give you the feeling of what my experience of what a bee is, the time I have spent with them and the things that I wrote about in the book, I don't experience them as an irritating thing. I am so mesmerized when I go looking for bees, and I try to find bees on flowers, and I'm continuing my research and help other people understand what bees are up to and how they're living their life. I completely become a different person. I totally am not Katherine. I am this other thing that inside of me that's like so vibrating with calm. All I can say is beauty, balance, and bliss. And I know that sounds like a heady kind of thing, but it's a feeling that takes over where you can put your head on the pillow at night and breathe easy. You can go to sleep saying, you know, I remember the best thing that happened to me today. Mm-hmm. And you sleep with this joy of knowing that the next day you woke up and today is my lucky day. And creating that space, it actually becomes your present. So, and you'll be able to release the past, bring from the past what you want, the riches of your past, without it being a burden that you can't go forward.
Uh-huh.
So anyway, it's an ever-unfolding flower. And so I'm kind of off the track with bees, but I think what happened was when I learned how bees really mate, and I understood that the virgin mating male gives his life in mating so that the bee colony will live.
Wait a minute. Hold on. What you just said, you said now he gives his life for the colony. How to break that down real quick now. I got to hear this.
Okay. Well, I understood that respect for life and dignity of life, and that's why I renamed all the bees. I don't call queens because the queen that our mindset, our culture has taught us to look at bees in a certain way as based on a function of honeymakers and pollinators. But when I kind of broke through that mindset that I had in my brain, I understood that they were actually a living creature that had great value of what I call self-worth, an intimate, internal, not a self-esteem, but a self-worth, an unconditional love mm-hmm. of life and each other and how they care for each other. Mm-hmm. So part of that was revealed through the mating process. And it's a long-winded workshop that I gave away for free. I didn't put it in the book, but basically, as humans, we think that bees mate like we do, but they don't. The virgin female mates for 7 to 10 days, and every time she goes out on the mating journey, she puts herself at risk. She has little wings, so she can't, and she's really, really big. But what happens through these 7 to 10 days is that she's actually transformed to both mother, father bee is what I call her. So anyway, to break it down is that and she doesn't mate with any of the virgin males in the colony that she's from unless they're drifters from other colonies. So they are without a stinger, by the way. So there's this 600 feet above the ground, this mating zone, where all of the males, virgin males, go from the community of bees. So we think of bees in a little box and they only live with each other, but they're not. All the bees are literally connected to each other, although they have their own honeycomb and their own mother-father bee, but some bees do drift, but males particularly do drift, and I'll tell you why later. But anyway, so what happens is the virgin female wakes up, she's strong enough, it's time for her to go on her mating flight the first day. She flies out with some foraging bees, I don't call them worker bees, and then she flies up to this zone and she deposits a scent. And what happens is it signals to all of the virgin males in this 600 feet above the ground that there's a female present. Then the virgin males, they decide together. They kind of bat their wings and duke it out with each other, and they decide who is going to mate with this female.
Okay, hold on, Katherine. Hold on, because we got to go to break. And this sounds fascinating. Sorry. It sounds like a whole bunch of like humans do, too, when we competing over females. But NYGHTSTORM Nation, we're going to roll to a break, and we're going to be back with Miss Katherine Garvin and on how these bees learning how the birds and the bees and how we gonna help each other with the birds and the bees. So anyway, this is NYGHTSTORM Radio on Love 860 AM, Atlanta's inspirational talk radio station. Be back on the other side of the break. event planners. Are you worried that your next corporate get-together is going to be boring?
Then invite the Night Storms to speak at your next event and electrify your organization as we break down how to grow your business, fix broken relationships, and conquer life challenges.
So make your next event epic. Invite me and the Queen to rock the house with inspirational techniques designed to empower individuals and maximize their true potential.
And thanks for listening to Night Storm Radio on Love 860 AM WAEC, Atlanta's inspirational station.
We are you.
This is Toby George Nightstorm, a.k.a. Lady Nightstorm, and I'm known as the woman not afraid to tell the truth about how things really are. And the truth I have to say to you is you should listen to Nightstorm Radio every Thursday from 11 to noon. And you should also like us on Facebook at Nightstorm Radio. Follow us on Twitter at Nightstorm Radio. And join the Nightstorm Nation mailing list on nightstorm.com. That's NYGHTSTORM.com. Night Storm Radio on Love 860 AM WAEC, Atlanta's inspirational talk radio station. We are you.
This is YG Nightstorm. And why should you listen to Nightstorm Radio? Because we relate to you or someone you know with topics taken directly from our lives. Every time you tune in, you'll hear a discussion about real subjects that affect real life. Why? Because me and the Queen have been there. So join us right here every Thursday morning from 11 to noon on Love 860 AM WAEC, Atlanta's inspirational talk radio station. Night Storm Radio. We are you.
Hello, Nightstorm Nation. This is Toby George Nightstorm, a.k.a. Lady Nightstorm, and I have a question for you. How much are you spending each day on lunch? $6, $7, $10 even? Do you know that for less than what you spend each week on lunch, you can advertise your business or service right here doing the show on Nightstorm Radio? Why don't you inbox us on Facebook, send us a message on Twitter, or drop us a line at nightstorm.com. Let us show you how you can get your business or service out in front of the people. Now back to the show. All right, welcome back to the show, Nightstorm Nation.
Yeah!
And we have been talking to Ms. Katherine Garvin, who is educating us about the life cycle and the honeybees
how
going
bees
out
get busy.
and everything. And what the question I have for you is, what's most important about how to help the honeybees? What can we do to help them?
Well, they're starving, basically. And so I took the approach that every single person can actually impact the life of the honeybee. Well, first, by the book, it gives the instructions, but if you have interest in knowing about what you can do, there's every person can do something if you have an affinity for that sort of thing, and I outline that in my book. But how we can help them, I found out that there's 110 million households in America that already have a garden.
Mm-hmm.
And if each one of those households, even 10% of those households, shifted in one or two different plants that they grow year-round, it would make a huge, significant difference in the life of a bee.
Now, what kind of plants?
The other thing, well, that's all outlined in the book. But I really want to talk real quick. I just want to thank you so much for asking me that question, though.
Okay.
And that's why I wrote the book, is because you can take this book and use it as an individual. It tells you exactly what to grow, when to grow it, why it's important, and then also there's a whole section if you want to connect to your neighborhood or even just your block where you live in the city, and I made this book for people who are not just beekeepers or who have interest in having a beehive, but for people who will never have a beehive, but they feel an affinity for life and they want to connect with in some positive way, mm-hmm. not a negative way.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just about pesticides and GMOs. There's a whole lot of things that put bees at risk every single day. But the beauty that I found was that they do not focus on the things that we focus on. They focus on today is a beautiful day, and they, although they're at risk, they do the best they can to continue to thrive and be happy. Okay. And part of that story came to me through the mating story that we were talking about before the break.
Okay, now I want to say this because the name of the book is called Hope for the Honeybee. Okay,
right.
and I was looking at the tweets here on NYGHTSTORM Radio, and I had a couple of folks. They said, "Why should we care about these bees?" And then I had another tweet says, "Because what she's saying is about the philosophy of the bee." Okay, and I want to kind of pigtail off of what this other Twitter, what our other follower just said to our other follower who like, why is she talking about bees and why should we care? Well, let me tell you why we should care. And this is what I honestly feel that you have been harking on, and especially what may be in your book, is that it's about the philosophy of that we go through life and we go through all this uncertainty and we flying around through life like a honeybee. And similar to what the Queen was explaining to me, because this was very impactful to me, ma'am. And the work that you're doing, it touched me because once I understood why the importance and why we need to look at these honeybees a little bit differently, it's because it brings hope, not just hope for the honeybee, but it also brings hope for us on how we can improve our lives and the way we think in order to do the things that we need to do, stop focusing on all this unimportant stuff that has held us back, and look at the beauty that has surrounded us on the things that we may not even be paying attention to. Okay, and that's why I feel why you should care about honeybees.
Well, that is just the most beautiful thing. I just feel so much appreciation, joy, and happiness talking to both of you. Your voices are filled with the resonance of today, which brings us an opportunity once again to appreciate that we are alive. Life can go so quickly. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And, I am so grateful that I have arrived at a place in my life after living, the amount of time, whatever that means, in terms of time. But somewhere in the very core of myself, something said, I'm going to be more than just who I was when I was 20, 30, 40. I'm going to give myself a life today.
Okay. Now, how can more people...
and so this is what the thing is I understand when people say, why should I care about the honeybee? Mm-hmm. They're just a bug, or they sting me, or they're annoying, or what have you. And I love that question, and I'll tell you why. Because the fact that one person can be challenged by something, if you move positively to discover the mystery of why it's important, you will find for yourself a feeling. Mm-hmm. It's given the right, avenue to discover and have that experience of the honeybee that I have had. And that's why I'm coming out and talking about it, because I'm saying this is not just for me. This is an avenue, a way of discovering a connection to your physical, emotional, mental, and sacred self. Mm-hmm. And we're in our culture, and God bless America. I'm so lucky to have been born in this land of whatever problems we have had, but it also has given me an opportunity to have things that other people haven't had. And so I appreciate that. I know we have problems. We're not perfect. But I'm trying to spend my days in saying, I can change that around. There's something in part of me that I can be empowered to say, if I listen and I silence myself and I quiet the chatter in my brain and start to feel, I can actually then create in my life a daily practice of what I call self-love and care. And this is what the bees do, and this is what most people don't understand about the bees. Because we have, living now in cities and urban settings, we don't have an opportunity to have a positive experience from something that, looks on the surface like just bugging you to death. They're just looking for food is really all they're doing. Like I heard you say something about perfume, and the beautiful thing about bees and flowers, bees smell and see nectar, pollen, and propolis as an ultraviolet light. We don't see that. And the other thing about flowers is not every flower is a bee flower. And sometimes flowers only provide nectar and pollen and propolis certain times of the year. They're only providing it like maybe 2 hours a day.
So how can someone buy a copy?
Unfolding discovery about bees.
I know. And I know, I'm sorry, Katherine, I know a lot of people want to get more information about your book. So how can they buy a copy of Hope for the Honeybee and find out about you and more about this topic?
Yeah, where you at, girl?
That's so sweet of you. Thank you for asking that. You can find it on my website at KatherineGarvin.com and click through where it says Buy Hope for the Honeybee. Or you can Google Hope for the Honeybee, create space, and purchase it online. It's the quickest way. It's also available on Kindle, so if you have a Kindle and Amazon, again, you can click through that and download that to your Kindle as well.
Cool.
Yay.
Okay. Now, Katherine, now we done came to a segment of the show called the Love Shoutouts. And the reason why we call this segment the Love Shoutouts because we let the Night Storm Nation members send us emails and tweets on how they appreciate their lovers and the folks that's special in their lives. And the fact that you talked about all these honeybees and why we need to see how important they are, it opens our eyes to realize all the important things that are in our life and the important people that are in our life that's special that we may not get a chance to say thank you to. So this Night Storm Nation member says this, and Angela says that she wants to say she loves her husband, Philip, and her beautiful blended family. You got something over there, sweetheart?
Yeah, and Carlos wants Trina to know she will always be his special lady.
Cool.
And I would like to send out a shout out to my husband.
Uh-oh, Katherine,
YG.
hold on. You the witness. You better listen to this, Katherine.
YG Night Storm.
Uh-huh.
I appreciate you. Everything you do for me, the kids, you put up with us like we put up with you, but you put up with us more because there's more of us than it is of you.
Well, baby, I would be remiss, and Katherine is my witness, that I appreciate you. And to see and to learn what Katherine is talking about the honeybees and appreciating life for the moment, girl, I appreciate all your sweetness every single second you decide to give it to me. And I love you. Thank you very much, ma'am.
You are so welcome. And Katherine, I know you have love for the bees, but is there anyone else in your life you would like to shout out?
Well, right now, I just want to say how much I love you, too.
Well, we love you.
I feel like I'm in this blanket of, vibrational peace. I'm in Portland, Oregon. I don't know where you are, but I feel like I am so lucky. There's no words. My heart is just beating so fast that I got a chance to be with both of you. And I just feel like, I don't know, something good in my life happened, and now I'm here, and I get to be with these two shining individuals across the United States. I don't know how to describe it. It just feels so good, and I just want to say thank you so much. And thank you so much for taking the time to look at my book and talk about it. I mean, what a great gift. Thank you so much, both of you. I don't know you, and you put all your love and time and attention into helping me, and that is the most wonderful experience I could take with me. I can't even describe what that feels like.
Okay. Well, son, we appreciate all the love. And Jared, our producer, get on the microphone, brother. Do you have anything you want to send out to your special, special person, sir?
Yesterday, I was going through a low period. Just, kind of my month, I guess. Where I have a couple of hard days where I'm like, I'm down on myself and everything. And I told my lady as much. And she got me on the phone. And then she told me about all the things that I've been doing and all the hard work. and all the stuff that I've been doing, and she made me feel so good about myself again.
Awesome.
So I just want to say thank you to my special lady, who is always going to be in my corner, and I will always be in hers, and I love her for that.
That's what's up, man. That's
the love.
That's an moment. Oh my goodness. Okay, now Katherine, we want to thank you so much for being on Night Storm Radio.
I'm gonna miss you guys already. I missed you so much already. I want to thank you so much.
Well, the next time you're in Atlanta, because that's where we are, right here in Atlanta, Georgia, just, drop us a line, let you know you're coming, and hey, we can go sit in the park.
We'll talk about a garden. Do you have a garden really quick? I know we got to go, but yes, I would love to come to Atlanta and see you both.
Okay, Katherine, you come to the ATL, girl. Now, we also want to send a big thanks to Dr. Rebera Foston for being a guest on the show. And Night Storm Nation, thank you so much for listening to Night Storm Radio and supporting this show. And next week, we welcome the Queen of Respect, Miss Jen Alves, to the show, so you don't want to miss it. And until next time, I want you guys to have a great week and stay safe out there and focus on the things that are important to you. As Katherine has pointed out, with these honeybees, the philosophy will affect your life. Buy the book. And God bless you guys. And listen to us next Thursday, 11 a.m. right here on Love 860 AM, Night Storm Radio. And this is Atlanta's inspirational talk radio station, because what, sweetheart? We are you. God bless you. See you next week.